Hi, and welcome to the next edition of the Check-In podcast, where we're talking with community leaders and builders about what it means to have total well-being at work, at school, and at home. Today's guest is Ms. Carolyn Shaw. Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Carolyn, maybe tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
I'm Carolyn. I am one of the co-founders and also the president and chief creative officer of an agency called Humanity. We've been running that for almost 6 years now. It'll be 6 years this summer. And so my background really is in that creative side and finding my creative outlet and solving problems with creativity.
Yeah, awesome. So first question right out of the chute is, what does well-being or total well-being at work mean to you personally?
I think for a long time, it was really around the work-life balance and how many hours you worked or how much vacation that you got. But I think now it really has evolved into something much more holistic. We are now having conversations of, can your job actually support and be a positive support in your overall well-being? So I believe that now it's about designing work so it supports you, or designing a workplace so that it does support all of the people who are part of your workplace. So that might be clarity of role, psychological safety. I think psychological safety is a fairly new term, I think. It's knowing that your growth matters. It's knowing your work has meaning. So I believe the big question now is, can your work contribute positively to your overall life? And again, not just be that either work or life kind of balance that you're trying to keep them both.
And in your experience, have you come across an organization that has done something like small or big that supports well-being in their offices?
You'll edit all this out, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking right now, did I send you the questions? I don't think I
You
did.
did, but I don't remember this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one I had was about your organization specifically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll ask that again then.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, can you share something that your organization does, big or small, that helps support well-being in the workplace?
Yeah, so at Humanity, we have a well-being framework that we created, and we actually created it. It's a strategic framework based in behavioral science that we created for the work that we do. And it's based in behavioral science. It's an evolution of Maslow's hierarchies of needs, basically. And it has 4 pillars to it. So it's functional well-being, esteem well-being, social well-being, and transformative well-being. And we actually use that framework also operationally and internally as well, and how kind of our guiding system to everything that we do. So in functional well-being, that might be clarity of expectations, might be flexible schedules, allowing our staff our staff is from many different parts of the world, so they still have family and friends in different parts of the world. So allowing them to work remotely from, Switzerland or Hong Kong or Argentina for a few weeks. Socially, that could look like open dialogue, shared wins, in-person collaboration. We're remote we're hybrid for the most part, but having those social gatherings and working together in person. Esteem well-being, that might look like growth plans, feedback, mentorship, recognition. Recognition, I found, is a huge thing in the workplace, even if it's small. And transformatively, that could mean the meaningful projects and the impact of the work that we get to do. So really trying to make sure that we are balancing all 4 dimensions of everybody's well-being. So it's not just a kind of a perk for us, it's really part of our operating system.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key there. I think a lot of organizations have always handled that kind of like separately.
Yeah.
But now they're integrating it within their framework and under the workplace culture, probably.
Yeah.
And what's one challenge you think leaders are faced with today when they're supporting their team's well-being?
Yeah, I mean, for Humanity, I mean, we launched in the summer of 2020, so right at the height of COVID and for many months after. So that came with its own unique challenges and making sure that everyone was supported and had the time for their own health, but also their families. But since then, I would say, and I assume it's probably something most leaders kind of grapple with, is balancing business challenges with culture and people well-being. And how do you kind of balance both of those things? And I think one of the hardest tensions is balancing financial sustainability with cultural sustainability. And what we've learned over time is to have a lot of open conversations as a team. So people don't feel completely off guard or that things have been kept a secret from them. We've learned that transparency really does reduce anxiety. And I think for a lot of leaders, we just need to think about before we were leaders and what it was like and what silence was like. It really creates more stress than telling people the truth and bringing people in. So we do a well-being survey every year, and is based in those 4 pillars of well-being. We've got a bunch of questions under each, and we take those scores very, very seriously. And every year we've done exceptionally well, but I would say last year was not such a good year. And so our focus this year is to get our well-being score back to where it was. So whether that's culturally, developmentally, and socially.
Okay. Yeah, so I would assume that launching in 2020 definitely tested your mental health and resiliency. So how do you recharge the batteries today?
Mm-hmm. And I know this is something that I can and should always be improving on. You know, whether that's taking my vacation time, lots of things I can get better at. But for me, I mean, I'm a ruminator by nature. So protecting my mental space is really important, because I know that if I don't protect my energy, I can't show up for my team. So as much as I can, I do try to make sure that I have kind of protected time on the weekends where it's, you know, I can focus and it's just my time. And then I find just protecting my time. Time is such a valuable asset, and making sure that my days are scheduled to make sure I get everything done, and that I can focus on everything. And then I think sleep is a big leadership strategy, getting to bed early and consistently. And then past year and a half, I've kind of gotten into this new thing of getting up quite early at about 5:30, which I never used to do, and using that first part of the day to, whether it's you know, yoga or meditation or just planning my day, whatever that is, and just setting myself up for the day, I find is really important, because if I plan to leave it to after work, it's never going to get done. So that's the things lately that I've changed.
I love that. There's a concept in there that is fairly new to me, and I'm like, I like that. And that is not so much time management, but energy management.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you think, because I'm an early riser myself, and I think my best work or my most productive work comes in those first 3 hours from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's the proverbial, like, I get to fill my tank, be it with meditation or you know, I do my own thing, and it's kind of like filling my tank for the day, versus like getting up later and then just kind of running out the door. Like you're going to be running on fumes, you know, probably halfway through your day.
Yeah. And there's something freeing and exciting of every morning waking up and being like, okay, what am I going to do with my time today?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no one else around. So
what advice would you give to other leaders that are kind of going through the challenges of supporting themselves or well-being at work with their employees?
yeah, and I think it's you know, we've learned over time really is communication, that constant and consistent communication. I mean, I'm sure it applies in very, very big organizations as well, but we are a smaller organization. So I think it's even more important in smaller organizations, and when teams are much, much closer, communicating constantly, because people don't fear hard news. They fear silence. So talking to people about their role in the company, their performance, their growth plan, sharing the company's vision and goals regularly, and how everyone really plays a role in achieving that. We want everyone to be invested in the workplace, so we have to help them be invested and tell them how they are part of the company, and making them feel part of something bigger than themselves. So every team member should know how they're progressing, where they're going, and connecting people to meaning, I think. And we are lucky. We realize we are lucky at humanity for a lot of the work that we do. Most of our clients actually are not for profits or charities. A lot are in the social justice, human rights space, and so we do feel quite lucky with the work that we get to work on, the stories we get to hear, the people we get to meet. And so while this might be maybe a bit more difficult at other organizations, maybe if you're a big bank or a big telco or something that's maybe not as impact driven, I think as an organization, it's what are your values? What are the social impact that you're involved in, the causes, the organizations you support, your ESG or ERGs? What are those more impactful ways beyond maybe just the day-to-day job that people can get invested and live their values?
And when the day comes that you get to retire, and if you so choose, how would you like to be remembered as a leader?
I mean, I've once been described as leading with an iron fist and a velvet glove. So I don't know about that. But I would hope that growth would be the description. Personal growth is very important to me. So I would hope that I am encouraging growth in my team as well, because growth implies challenge, it implies support, learning, momentum, and always trying to achieve and to get better and to learn more.
And last question, what gives you hope for the future of well-being at work?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that we're even having this conversation, hearing your story and what you're building with what you're doing and building those mental health support. And I know it's a tricky time out there right now, just in the world, but it definitely in the employment and work world. But I think it gives me hope that we're talking about workplace well-being so much more now. I think leaders are more self-aware now. They're asking themselves more questions about their leadership. And again, psychological safety is much more mainstream than it ever was. And I think I really see collaboration amongst leaders increasing. A lot of spaces are these conversations are happening in with a lot of different leaders from different sectors, and I think that that's really huge, that leaders are coming together to share, to discuss, and to imagine what the future of work looks like. We know, I mean, work is a huge part of everyone's life, and so if we can get leadership right, we can help change lives and not just the business.
Yeah, awesome. I do have to ask you this before I do the closing, and that is, are you a Libra?
No.
Oh, as a Libra, it's one of the quotes as a Libra, and that's a Libra is an iron fist covered in a satin glove.
Oh, no, I'm an Aries, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, someone described that a couple years ago when they were presenting something about me, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I've never thought of myself that way.
Carolyn, thank you so much for joining and participating. I really appreciate it. Grateful for your time, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much, Nelson.